Hello, it's Flepaster here again with another guide. This time I'm gonna be talking about Infernal vs Celestial. And in this new economy patch 0.2.1, it's a very volatile matchup. And the most frustrating thing that you're probably gonna be running into a lot is Argent Saber. But also there's one base Argent Rush, which is very nasty. So I'm just gonna be showing you generally how to approach this matchup, in my opinion. And I've seen a lot of comments on this build, and it may not work at the very highest level, but if you overall find my guides useful, then I think you're probably playing at the level where this build will work for you. So I'm playing against Mac, who is a pretty good Celestial player. I think they play random, but their Celestial is pretty high MMR. So the very first thing you need to do against Celestial is open with an instant conclave, and that's unfortunate, but you need to do it because otherwise you are dead to one base Argent. Like, you can't hold it if you don't start with an instant conclave. That's pretty much a fact. You may die to it anyway, but without the instant conclave you are definitely dead. So we start with that. Of course we send our Hex and Scouting, and as you saw, this happens to be a Lost Hope, so you want to check behind your base, because if the opponent happens to be here, then they will probably like proxy from here, and you need to be aware of that. So that's the first place you want to check. So after a conclave you want to of course expand. There we go. And I'm confirming that he's not here. Yep, let's teleport back home. And we want to take our health camp next, but you will want to make your meat farm in a place that's generally defensive, like defending you in some way. And in this case, I was kind of indecisive about it. I decided to put it here, where I can see if something's getting like flown into my base from here. And that ended up delaying my meat farm like a ton, so my Hexens are super late. So, but just generally you would have the Hexens out at this point. Again, don't do as I do as I say. So eventually we will be taking this health camp, and then we want to double expand, so taking this expansion as well. Ideally I would prefer to do even more early expansions in this matchup, but you can't do it because of the threat of the one base Argent. And of course, if you happen to get Morph Core Rust, which isn't that common at the moment, but if you do, then this would help against that as well. So now we will be going for our health camp while waiting for some money to start our third base. There we go. And in this matchup, you can pretty much expect that the enemy will be going Argent Saber, because it's the strongest combination pretty much for Celestial, and almost everyone does it on ladder if they're not doing one base Argent. So that's our assumption. And against that you will first need economy, but then your goal is to get Miasma and Hellborn, with a lot of brutes as well, like Brute, Gaunt, Miasma, Hexen is a very good combo against that. Now, the traditional way to approach this matchup is to actually go Spriggan, because of course Sabers don't shoot air. But the problem with that approach is that the Celestial can make vectors which hard counter Spriggans, and they come from the same production facility as Sabers, so it's a very easy swap for it. And that makes your Spriggan counter kind of like a very narrow timing. It can definitely work, but I prefer going for land-based approach instead with Miasma, because they cannot hard counter that with units. If they make vectors, that's just good for you. They are not good against this army composition. So we are doing some more creeping while getting our economy running. There goes our fourth base on the way. Getting our fast ritual chamber, and also starting to add more production slowly. But the priority is to get more economy. Like, first more bases and more tech before you start adding more production. Because you will be spending all of your early money on just imps and production. Imps and getting more economy. And you only need a few units to creep the map. Like, if they go for Saber Argent with a normal economical opening, you have a few minutes buffer before they will actually attack, so we will try to use that time efficiently to get our economy going. And usually the goal is to have 7 workers on your main Therium. That's the most efficient number. And of course, in this kind of near Therium, you will want 5 workers. And you will want 12 workers eventually on all the Luminite patches. And we have our Hex and Alp training. I'm actually getting this before Plague Access, because the timing can be very tough to get Miasma before the opponent hits us. My Miasma upgrade is a bit late here at the moment. There we go. After that you can of course get Plague Access, but getting Miasma is more important. Because if you don't have Miasma when the enemy starts to push, you are simply dead. It's the only thing keeping you alive against that. And I mean push with sabers. So now we are getting our option for tier 3 as well. And we should start to add more production now, because our bases are starting to get some mining going. But meanwhile, getting the tech and economy is priority. Just keep spending your money pretty much. Before you have Miasma, you can put down a few Venom traps just to like buy you time defensively. They will make the enemy more cautious of pushing into you, and if you put them in a good spot, you might get lucky and get a big hit. Not that much happening. Like, this is out of all the matchup, this is relatively like the most boring at the moment. Like, there isn't much happening until both players kinda have their tech going, unless they do the one base Argent Rush. Because both players are kinda just trying to get their economy and tech going. So it's your job to like get the advantage when we get to that point. I'm starting to add more production. I have some Hellborn already. I should have my Elder Shrine. Yep, there we go. It's getting started. At 6 minutes, it's a pretty decent timing. Just clearing as many creeps I can for extra resources. We usually have the early game advantage against Celestial in creeping, mainly because of the Fiends, I guess. But you can see he is going for the usual Saber Argent composition. Which, if you see them opening Argent, you kinda know it's gonna be Saber Argent, so not much to even confirm there. And of course, on maps like this, it's always a good idea to go in from the back to see if you can snipe a base. So, for example, from here, after taking this camp, you can just hit strike here. There might be an array here that you might be able to kill. I'm getting a bit of scouting here, I see that he's nearby. So making more units. Adding a few Magmadons is not bad, like it's a good distraction unit in this matchup. Don't expect it to actually do much, but you can kinda use to push the enemy back a bit. Interrupt their fire a little bit, because it has a fairly high hit points, like that's the main difference. Compare, for example, Hellborn hit points to Magmadon, so it can hit a few saber shots while it's like maybe making the enemy take some evasive maneuvers as well. But mainly you just want like Brute, Gaunt, Hexen and some Hellborn, especially once we get our tier 3 upgrade on the way. So I can see that the fight is coming soon, but I do have my Miasma at this point. So I think I can engage into that. Just need to get mine. It's also very important this matchup to keep spreading your Shroud, which gives you vision, gives you more health regeneration. You kind of have a better enemy of what's going on here. Yeah, as soon as the battle starts, keep dropping non-stop miasmas on top of the army, so you can see it kind of just keeps the enemy moving. And of course, if they drop a Purify, you should not fight each other. This is kind of stupid for me. When they drop the Purify, just back off with your army and wait for that to end, basically. Because it's basically stopping the infest. So this fight is not amazing for me, just because of this one Purify that I could have avoided. And now I actually run out of energy at this point. I can drop... I would still win this if I had energy on my Hexen, but since I realize I can't cast anymore Miasma, I'm just backing off, like keeping the tech units, the Hellborn, the Hexen alive, that's the important thing. So, like, it was not the crushing victory I hoped for, but it was still pretty good. I killed, like, all of his units except the Sabers, and damaged the Sabers a lot. Because when it's just Sabers, it's much easier to actually engage into. As long as they have something to tank for them, it's much worse. And also my economy keeps getting better all this time. I also keep expanding. But yeah, I already have like the tech I want. Now that I have tier 3 on my Hellborn as well, so it's gonna be a pretty different fight from the previous one now that we go again. I have more Hexen, so I can cast more Miasma. And as you can see with Miasma, you're kind of forcing the Sabers to keep moving, and they don't want to be moving, they just want to be shooting. So that's instantly good for you. You're basically getting 3 kills. And now that I'm winning this central spot, it's starting to get very good for me. Because it gives me a lot of map control. I'm making multiple expansions at once now. Spending my money on more economy. And I kinda have all the updates I already want, so this is my endgame composition. You just keep adding more economy and more units at this point. And Stomp is always like decent for pushing back the enemy a bit. You can see the Infest is hitting pretty hard on this mass of Sabers here in the back. They're almost dead. Just a few more shots and they start to like just fall down like dominoes. And you can see he was like kinda expecting the Spree guns, so he was making vectors, but they don't do anything against this comp. So that's basically how this works. It's a pretty simple unit composition. It's definitely not perfect, but I feel it's a fairly reliable way to approach this matchup. So I hope this is gonna help you against Celestials, and especially against this popular Saber Argent push. And you can of course watch me live almost daily on twitch.tv/flibuster. For now, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Peace out.